Well, hello out there, YouTube. Sorry, I've been away for a bit. I've been sick, and yeah, and not a sickness I'm not a sickness I'm used to. It was in my lungs, and so it's created a real challenge. Even up to now, it's been over 3 weeks, so hopefully I'm on the mend. We'll see what happens. So today I wanted to talk about like conflict. Those you know, right? When you challenge having that conversation with somebody, and you've sort of grown up in an environment where if you talk about your authentic self, like what you really feel or believe about things, you've either been the fear is you're going to be abandoned, you've been shamed, somehow it hasn't been respected. And so that creates an environment for us, not making fun of anybody or telling them that it's their fault, but it does create an environment for us to just go along to get along, right? And it's a lot about the nice guy, just being nice is very manipulative, right? But being a good person is a little different. And I know those terms are very interchangeable, like define good. What I'm really talking about is you talk about your authentic self, right? Or you understand. I hope you understand what I mean. And the challenge becomes, working as a therapist and a coach, over the years, you realize how many people struggle with having conversations that may create some friction, may create conflict, especially in really deep family relationships, family dynamics, intimate relationships, where that's been your pattern, right? To just sort of go along, and not really say too much that bothers you, or, I wouldn't do it that way, I would do it this way, with fear of being, ultimately it's being rejected, right? Your thoughts will be rejected or not taken into consideration. Now, like I've said before, I don't hold the be all and end all about how to do this. There's multiple different ways to do it, multiple different ways to see it. What I'm talking about is that the more that you actually have those conversations, like the crucial conversations that you need to have, tends to be the less pain we create in those relationships. So what do I mean by that? So you get in a relationship with somebody, and it's a long-term relationship, just say that. You define how long-term is for yourself. And they present like, yeah, that this is fine, this is what I want. And it's not really what they want, right? But they're just going along with you to get along with you, right? Like just to appease you, because they're afraid of what you're going to say to them, afraid of what you may do, you may leave. And so years and years go by, and there's the odd conflict, there's the odd thing that comes up, and then all of a sudden something that you're not aware of, out of the blue, becomes a huge conflict. I don't want that anymore. I never said I wanted that type of relationship. I never wanted to do that in a relationship. And you're just kind of sitting there going, oh my God, like, I've been duped. I don't even know who you are, right? And so it's hard not to get frustrated with that person. It's hard not to feel duped by them. But really what's going on is what could be going on, I apologize, is that person may have been in such anxiety to actually tell you how they felt for years that they just never did it until they just couldn't hold it in anymore. Now, is that the right thing to do? Well, in my experience, typically if we have those crucial conversations right when they need to happen, then there's actually a chance for that relationship. Let's say there's a break in the relationship, and then when you have that conversation, that break, right, then you have a chance to repair it. Typically when we repair something, it's as strong or stronger than when it was. Not always the case, but you have a chance to repair it, right? And then you also have a chance to make that relationship go deeper, because now there's some trust, right? On both sides. It's like I can talk about what the things that or pretty hard to talk about, and I know that we're going to have a conversation. Now, will that always happen? No, not always. But what I'm saying is that when we do focus on having those difficult conversations, the outcome tends to be better or more neutral. Right? Now, that may not seem like something that's important, but look at it this way. So you're in that relationship and you think about it. This is how I think about it. You have that conversation. So either I have the conversation or I don't have the conversation. I'm still going to be emotionally upset. I'm still going to be upset, right? It's not going to be comfortable. Either way, I'm going to be uncomfortable. So I can be uncomfortable not being authentic to myself, not being authentic to my partner or my really good friend, or I can be upset being upsetting my friend, upsetting my partner, but not upset being authentic with who I am or the things that I feel. You see the difference? I think you can see the difference. I'm hoping that makes sense, because it can be a real eye opener in your relationships when you start talking this way with each other. Friends, family, it doesn't always work so well in the work environment. It depends on the person you're having the conversation with as well, right? If they're open to having that crucial conversation that is going to create some conflict. But the topic is more about how do you get through that challenge of being authentic with yourself, to have these conversations, to tell people that you feel this way without getting bombarded with, I'm afraid to have these conversations. The other thing it can do when we don't have these conversations is it kind of shows the person a little bit that I'm okay with telling you how I feel when things are really good, but I'm not okay telling you how I feel when things are not so good, which can leave the other person really sitting there going like, so you can only talk to me about how you feel when things are good? And so it kind of makes their relationship dynamics kind of skewed, right? And hopefully they're open to talking about that, and you're open to talking about that if you're the one who doesn't want to have the conversations. Because if you're only willing to have those conversations when things are good, that's not how things work. I mean, there's always challenges in all relationships. There's always difficult times in all relationships. I mean, when we don't have that conversation with somebody, when we're not being authentic, we're also abandoning ourselves, right? Where you're just not being authentic with yourself, so you're choosing not to talk your true truth for you. True being true for yourself, not true for everybody else, not true like across the whole world, but true for you, right? And I'm sure you can live with that. You can be okay with talking your own truth. It may not always work out the way you want it to. And really so what does typically always work out the way you want it to, right? But the more you get used to having those conversations, the more times that you can fix and repair your relationship by having these conversations, the stronger that tie gets, right? Not only with that person, but also with yourself, who you genuinely are inside, right? And that's just amazing when you can start doing that for yourself. And the only way to do it is to take that chance. And sometimes it's talking to that person, like I said, I need to have this conversation with you. I don't know how it's going to go. My anxiety is that you may leave or abandon me, whatever it may be. But I know I have to have this conversation. Now you're sort of on a level playing field, right? Hopefully. They may be like, no, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Chances are, if it's a really fairly strong relationship, that's not going to happen. But it may. But if you're being true to yourself, you need to ask yourself, so if I'm talking about my own truth and there's no way of actually looking at that, they're not able to look at your perspective at all, there might be more ruptures in that relationship than you're able to see at the time. Anyways, I thought it was a pretty important topic. Hopefully it made sense. thank you so much for people who've been subscribing and watching some of these videos. Hopefully they're helpful. And I will do my best to get back on track and be doing these more regularly. Once again, thanks for liking and subscribing. It helps me out, gives me an idea what people are enjoying it, not enjoying. Sorry. Anyways, I will talk to you soon. And once again, thanks for tuning in. Take care. Bye bye now.